When did I realize I was a composer? I was 16 and I had the opportunity to take a music theory class, and one of the not first assignments that we had was to write a fugue. And wow, tall order for someone who's 16 to try to write a fugue. So of course you study a bunch of fugues. The Little Fugue in G minor, probably still is my favorite. And I studied it and tried to make my own fugue, and failed at it miserably. But rather than be discouraged, I scrapped the whole thing and thought, let me try this again. And interesting as the formula is to try to write a fugue, I still didn't like my second attempt. And it became this obsession with how to figure out a puzzle in a way. And that's initially really what got me into composing, was finding a question that kept being asked but rephrased in different ways, but trying to find new ways of answering it. Composing doesn't always happen at the most convenient times. Sometimes inspiration will strike when I'm on the subway and I see two people who are nonverbally communicating with one another. There's a lot of people watching that happens in the city, and I hope no one finds offense to that. I think everyone kind of engages in it in some way. But I'm often in transit and inspired by the rhythms that I hear around me, or those bits of nonverbal communications, those sparks that you see that you wonder if your life is much different and how you would translate that moment into music. At the moment, I try to work away from the computer initially when conceptualizing about a piece. At the moment, I happen to have a vibraphone in my possession. So in terms of picking pitch materials, I've been really hands-on in that aspect of things, and feeling space between notes, but physically with my hands. So yeah, that's where I sometimes create some elements of pitch. When I work on a piece of music, starting is the hardest part, of course. So it's rather indulgent. I'll just start anywhere. And more often than not, I won't start at the very, very beginning of a piece, but realize that I've started maybe a third of the way through, and it's about, sometimes I get so excited about everything I could possibly want to say that it just comes out in one large chunk, and it's about trying to find a way to pull the bits and pieces out of that chunk and to weave it into something that really comes more naturally into being, and sometimes dissolves into those bits and fragments again. You know, kids are probably one of the most fantastic audiences. I love working with kids. They are completely unbridled when it comes to expressing joy about things, and I think that I've really nailed it on the head if I can make a kid stay quiet for a whole performance. And I've had some students of mine bring their children to some of my recitals, and I know I've written a good piece when they won't say anything during it and it's all silent. So I think sometimes it's about the subjects that you take along too as narratives, and I think keeping them fun and fantastical and surreal is a way to engage younger audience members, and to making them imagine more and connect the dots in their own way.